Okay, so far, what kind of mutagen we have seen? Some of the mutagen were base analog, or like they were modifying the nucleotide, like alkylating agent or deamination, right? Base analog and base modifier. So next category of the mutagen is your intercalating agent. Let's see how they are going to work. So intercalating agent, basically they are planar structure which can intercalate themselves into the double helical structure of DNA. And what is going to be the consequence of inserting those intercalating agent into the DNA? They are going to distort the helical structure of DNA, which you can see in the next slide. So generally, the helical structure, this is the another name which was given by the scientist. It is called BDNA. So this is the structure which is helical. Now, if you can see this yellow color, this is a planar intercalating agent. So once it is introduced into the double helix, so this is called intercalating. It is intercalated or it is stacked between the nucleotides. After that, it is going to distort the nucleic acid structure. And what is the consequence of this? When DNA containing these mutagen is replicated, the daughter strand may contain addition or deletion. These are the two consequences which are going to appear, either addition or deletion of the nucleotide. Several examples are there for the intercalating agent like acridine, proflavin, ETBR. So here, let's see the addition part. Let me zoom in here. So can you go through this picture, try to understand what is happening, how it is causing addition?
Sir, after ATCAG, after that one new base is added randomly. So that is
Okay.
why shift is happening.
So basically, once you have this intercalating agent, it may be recognized, it will be recognized as a normal nucleotide of the DNA helix by the DNA replication machinery. Okay. So that's why when new DNA strand is getting synthesized, randomly any nucleotide will be incorporated here. This intercalating agent, it will be recognized as a nucleotide in the structure of DNA. So during DNA replication, the replication machinery is going to identify this as a nucleotide, and a random base will be chosen and which will be inserted here. And then you can see what is going to be the consequence of this in the next round of replication. Here again, like here, this can be GCAT, so anything. So accordingly, you will be having a mutation in the next round of replication. If it was G, uh, in the next round of replication, you will get C opposite to that, right? So, and this is totally random. As mentioned here, this addition, is there is no logic behind this. It is totally random. And we know that wherever there is a addition or deletion, it is going to cause frame shift mutation. So here addition is there. So ultimately the outcome will be the frame shift mutation due to the insertion of CG base pair here. Next is the deletion. So what is happening here? Can you explain?
Sir, is it basically what happened above, but during replication, first we are checking one like two strands of DNA is there, so one strand for addition and one strand for deletion, like that.
Okay. Template DNA strand in the new DNA strand. If so, here basically you are seeing, let's say, the during the DNA replication, if an intercalating agent is incorporated into the DNA, right? That's what you are seeing here. Template DNA strand, then you have new DNA strand, and when this new DNA strand was synthesized by the replication machinery, an intercalating agent was introduced. In the next round of replication, if, okay, so condition applied, if this intercalating agent is lost, then it will lead to the deletion, which we can see here. There will not be any nucleotide corresponding to that. Here we can see that here actually this intercalating agent was introduced opposite to T. Okay, so now in the next round of replication of this strand, of the new DNA strand, if condition applied, if this intercalating agent is lost, okay, then there will not be any nucleotide opposite to the, because it is lost, so there will not be any nucleotide opposite to that. So in that way it will cause deletion of a nucleotide, and finally the ultimate outcome will be the frame shift mutation. Frame shift mutation can happen because of either addition or deletion of a nucleotide. Okay, so this is how your intercalating agents are going to affect the structure of DNA, and we have seen what is going to happen at the molecular level also, the structural level and at the molecular level. Okay, so we are done basically with the chemical mutagen. Next category is physical mutagen. Physical mutagen, basically it may be ionizing radiation or non-ionizing radiation. If we have ionizing radiation, they are very dangerous, like your gamma rays, X-rays, beta particles, because they are having high energy and short wavelength. So what is going to be the consequence? Ultimate outcome is that they are going to cause the reactive oxygen species in the cellular system, and which can attack on the DNA. Not only on the DNA, they are going to attack on several other biomolecules, proteins, lipid, everywhere. So reactive oxygen species means they are the oxygen moiety which are more reactive than oxygen, as the name suggests, and because of an unpaired electron, which are shown here like OH or O2 minus. All these are the reactive oxygen species. So ionizing radiation can give rise to different reactive oxygen species, ROS, and they can attack, especially if we talk about the DNA, they are going to directly attack on the DNA, and they are going to break the phosphodiester bond. So breakage of the DNA basically. And if DNA breakage is going to happen, then cell is going to die. Okay, so this is going to be the effect of your ionizing radiation. Non-ionizing radiation, which you can see here, like at the structural level, they are like UV light. That is a example of non-ionizing radiation. And what it is doing, it can cause, generally it will lead to the formation of pyrimidine dimer. In both the cases, basically there is a formation of pyrimidine dimer. In most of the cases, in most of the, like 70 to 80% chances are there that it will lead to the cyclobutane pyrimidine ring. Right here you can see the red color one. This is an extra ring which is formed between both the nucleotides here. Okay, so cyclobutane pyrimidine dimer, 70 to 80% chances are there that you are going to have this. Or like rest of the cases, 20 to 30%, there is a different kind of structure which is forming here. It is called pyrimidine 6,4 photoproduct. There is a bonding between sixth position and fourth position, and that will lead to this kind of dimer formation, 6,4 photo product. And when you have this kind of dimers in the structure of DNA, they are going to cause the distortion in the structure of DNA. And this kind of distortion can block the replication as well as transcription of DNA. So you can imagine if DNA replication is blocked, DNA is not getting replicated, or the transcription is blocked, so cell is not going to survive. Okay, so these are the effects of your ionizing radiation and non-ionizing radiation. Next, so far in the mutation, we have discussed the mutation in coding part of the gene. Okay, so what about the mutation which are happening in the non-coding part? Okay, so to understand the what do you mean by coding part and non-coding part, we should define the gene and we should look at the structure of a gene. What is the structure of a gene? And if you understand what is the structure, like I can give an analogy of our body. Like our body is having nose, hands, ear, eyes. Every part is having a different function. And if like they are working in a very coordinated fashion, so similarly, the structure of gene is there. Different parts are there, and each part is having its own unique function. Okay, so let's understand. So first of all, let's define a gene. Can you try how you are going to define a gene?
By defining gene, like you mean that we say base pairs are there, lot of base pairs like that?
No, no. Let's say like somebody has to define a cell. So people say that cell is the fundamental unit of structure and function in our body. That is the definition of cell. So in the same way, I'm asking what is the definition of a gene?
Sir, a gene will help in production of a specific protein.
Okay. So this definition is quite old. Okay. Most of the times, this is the definition which I hear or which is there in the books also. Some very old definition of the gene is a segment of DNA that is responsible for a phenotypic trait. That is the oldest definition of a gene. Gene is a segment of DNA that is responsible for a particular phenotype, or like what you are saying, that is the second definition which came into existence, that genes are fragment of DNA which is responsible for protein, which are going to code for a protein. But if we look at the central dogma of molecular biology, do you remember what was the central dogma of molecular biology?
Yes, sir. A DNA, it can replicate to form itself, or it can transcript or reverse transcript to form RNA. Transcript to form RNA. RNA can reverse transcript to form DNA, and RNA can translate to form protein.
Okay, right. So here, can you tell me what do you mean by RNA here? We have different types of RNA in the cell. Can you mention what are the different types of RNA?
mRNA, rRNA, tRNA.
mRNA, tRNA, and rRNA. So, can you think what kind of RNA we are mentioning here in the central dogma? Is it mRNA or is it tRNA or is it rRNA? What kind of RNA we are going to get from DNA by the process called transcription? And here it is called translation.
Sir,
So, following the transcription, the question is what kind of RNA we are going to get from DNA? What you are saying, Aryan?
Sir, tRNA.
Okay. So basically here answer is all the different types of RNA which are there in the cell. We are going to get all those RNA from the transcription. Transcription is not specific to any specific type. Transcription is the process by which DNA will be used as a template to produce different types here. RNA of different types. But there is a catch that it is only mRNA here. Like here you are going to get all the different types of RNA, mRNA, tRNA, rRNA, even like just for the simplicity I have mentioned 3, but there are more types of RNA which I have not mentioned here. All they are coming because of the transcription of DNA. But what is the catch? That it is only mRNA which actually codes for a protein, messenger RNA. And that's why the name is given. It is the messenger. It has the message for a particular protein. It is going to code for a protein. Other types of RNA, whether it's tRNA, rRNA, they are not going to code for a protein. No, it is only mRNA which is going to code for a protein. Any doubt here? Okay, so the latest definition according to this concept, there are two types of gene: protein coding genes and RNA coding genes. So basically, gene is the unit of genetic information that specifies the synthesis of a polypeptide, that means protein, or produces tRNA, rRNA, microRNA, etc. And here, like so many types of other RNAs are there, like snRNA, snRNA. All the whatever RNA we have in the cell, they are the product of the transcription. So this is the latest definition of a gene, that gene is the unit of genetic information, or gene is the fragment of the DNA that is going to code for a protein or going to produce the tRNA, rRNA, microRNA, etc. Now let's discuss, we have defined the term gene. Now let's discuss the structure of gene. Okay, so I'm going to discuss the prokaryotic gene structure. Prokaryotic gene structure. Let me have a pen. This is the general structure of a gene. It is having how many elements are there? Something is called promoter. Following that, we have 5' UTR, and after that we have RNA coding region. Okay, and after that, here it is going to terminate. Transcription is going to so here termination site is there. So let's discuss, like so many terms are there here which are new to you people. promoter region, 5 prime UTR, coding part, and 3 prime UTR. So far, what we have seen? So far, we have seen if mutation is there in this part, coding part. What about if mutation is there in this region, 5 prime UTR, 3 prime UTR, or in the promoter region? What is going to be the effect?
Sir, nonsense mutation?
No, that category is going to be totally different. We cannot say that it is a nonsense. Nonsense, this word is applicable if mutation is there in the RNA coding region and it is creating a stop codon UAA, UAG, UGA. If those kind of codons are produced, because codons are there only in this part, RNA coding region. That's why the term is here RNA coding. That means it is having the codons. So if mutation is there and that mutation is causing a stop codon or nonsense codon, then so this term is applicable only here. But if mutations are there in the promoter region, in 5 prime UTR or 3 prime UTR, all those terms which we have discussed so far, let's say missense mutation, silent mutation, right? All those terms are applicable only to this region, RNA coding region. We cannot use those terms here. Region is very clear, they are non-coding part. Here, if mutation is there in the promoter region, it is not changing any amino acid. But here, if mutation is there in the coding part, it is going to change the amino acid in the protein. Okay, so that's why all those terms, all those mutation types, they are restricted to this part, RNA coding region. Okay, so let's see, first of all, what is the meaning of these terms? Promoter region. Promoter is the site. Promoter is the site on the DNA which is recognized by the transcriptional machinery of the cell. Okay, I'm repeating my statement. Promoter, let me have the pen. So promoter, basically, it is the site which is recognized by RNA polymerase. RNA polymerase means the enzyme which is responsible for synthesis of RNA, or simply it is the transcriptional machinery of the cell, RNA polymerase. So promoter is the site which is recognized or which has the binding site for the here RNA polymerase. So RNA polymerase will come, it will bind here, and from this site, transcription is going to start. So from where the transcription is going to start, it is called 5 prime UTR region. The full form of UTR is untranslated region. Okay, 5 prime UTR is called untranslated. That means it will be transcribed, but it will not be translated. That's why it is not part of the coding region. It is not going to code for a protein. It is not going to code for an amino acid. Then what is the function of 5 prime UTR? If it is untranslated region, what is the function? The function of the promoter is very clear. It is the site which has the binding site for RNA polymerase, so that RNA polymerase can come, it can bind, and it can start the transcription. 5 prime UTR is the site from where transcription gets started, and it has, do you remember what is the protein synthesizing machinery in the cell? proteins are synthesized by ribosomes. So this 5' UTR here, it has RBS, ribosome binding site. So can you imagine now if there is any mutation in the promoter region, what is going to be the consequence?
RNA will not be formed, sir.
Very high chance is there that RNA polymerase cannot bind to the promoter, and if RNA polymerase cannot bind to the promoter, transcription is not going to start. And if there is no transcription, no mRNA, no rRNA, no tRNA, no protein, basically. That is the importance of the mutation which is there in the promoter region. Okay, now let's say if a mutation is there in the 5' UTR, what can happen?
Sir, RNA will be transcribed, but it will not be translated because
Yes.
a ribosome will not bind.
Yes. So there will be difficulty in the ribosome binding site. And it depends. It depends what kind of mutation is there. Maybe sometime mutations are there so that RNA polymerase can bind to the promoter, but it cannot bind very efficiently. Okay. So here also category is there. Let's say in the promoter region, if mutation is there, that mutation may have such a nature that RNA polymerase can bind, but it cannot bind very efficiently. That means it is decreasing the affinity of the binding here. Same thing for 5' UTR. The mutation may change the affinity of the ribosome. Ribosome may not bind to the 5' UTR very efficiently. So in those cases, what is going to happen? If RNA polymerase cannot bind to the promoter region very strongly, so transcription is going to be there, but rate of transcription will differ. Okay, rate of transcription will be 0 or will be less than the normal. Same thing in case of 5' UTR. Mutation is there, so either there will be no ribosome binding or ribosome will bind but not very efficiently. So rate of translation, because ribosomes are involved in the protein synthesis, so proteins will not be synthesized at a normal rate. They will be synthesized at a very low rate. Okay, so that is the function of 5' UTR. Promoter region, RNA polymerase binding site is there. 5' UTR, it consists of ribosome binding site. 3' UTR, untranslated region. Okay, 3' UTR, untranslated region, it consists of other factors which are also like they are going to be responsible for the stability of your mRNA. Okay, stability of your mRNA. If there is a mutation, maybe the mRNA is not going to be very stable. Chances are there. Or like it is also helpful in the translation part, which we are not going to discuss here in this course. So if mutation is there, either it is going to affect the protein synthesis translation, or it can affect the stability of the mRNA, which we are going to get from the transcription of this particular gene here. Any doubt here in this structure?
No, sir.
Okay. So this particular part, which I have just discussed, this is the prokaryotic gene structure, which is shown here. Okay. So you can see the promoter region. They have just mentioned the transcription start site just by an arrow. But actually here also it is a box, which is 5' UTR. This is a correction in this picture. Here they have just shown the transcription start site, and here it is called 3' UTR. Right. Okay, rest of the things are I have explained. One more important thing with respect to the numbering system, I can tell that also. How the nucleotides are numbered in a gene. If you see this here, if you see this diagram here, you will find that the first nucleotide here, from where the transcription actually starts, the first nucleotide of your 5' UTR, it is called +1 position. Okay, and upstream of that, those nucleotides are numbered in minus. You can see it is the first nucleotide from where the transcription is starting. It is A. It is shown in the pink color. So it is +1 position from where transcription starts. And if you move upstream, those are -1, -2, -3, -4, -10, like that. The numbering will be going on. And downstream, you will be having the plus system, +2, +3 now, +4, +5. Do you see something unique here in this numbering system? Something unique here? Any guess?
No, sir.
So you can see here that there is no zero. In mathematics, we have -1, after that 0, then +1. Here in the genetics, molecular genetics, in this nomenclature, there is no zero. The numbering system starts, for the downstream, it starts from +1, and for the upstream, it starts from -1. There is no nucleotide which is numbered as 0th nucleotide. Okay, so the first nucleotide of the promoter region, how will you number? -1. The first nucleotide of your 5' UTR, you will mention as +1. This is the international numbering system which is adopted throughout the labs for prokaryotic gene structure as well as for the eukaryotic gene structure. When we move with respect to the transcription start site, upstream or downstream, we have to follow this minus and plus symbol numbering system. Because several times we have to mention, let's say a protein is interacting with the DNA at this position. So we have to mention the nucleotide. How to mention? We have to use this numbering system, that a particular protein is interacting with the DNA with -40 to -65. This is the region where the protein is interacting, right? So that's why this numbering system is developed, so that we can use this as a reference. Okay, now we are moving to the eukaryotic gene structure. Some differences are there. Overall, it is going to be the same, but here you are seeing most of the things: 5' UTR, promoter, coding region, 3' UTR. So what is the difference? I will try to explain on the white screen. So let's say here, this is the eukaryotic gene. So here it was the promoter. Same thing, here it is 5' UTR. Here it is 3' UTR. Here the coding region is not continuous actually. That is the difference. Everything else is same. Promoter, 5' UTR, 3' UTR. But this coding region, which was continuous in the prokaryotic gene structure, it is not continuous here. So what is happening? It is actually intervened. Intervening sequences are there. So basically, the structure here is something like this. We have something called exons and intron. What do you mean by exon? Exon is the segment of DNA which is going to code for, which is the actually coding region, I will say, coding part. And here introns means they are the intervening sequence, they are non-coding part. They are not going to code for a protein. Non-coding. So something like this. Here I'm just zooming this region. So let's say here I have exon 1, then here it will be intron 1. After that I will be having exon 2, intron 2, and this number is variable. There are certain genes which are going to have 10 exons, maybe 15 exons, okay, but these things are alternative, and it is going to start with exon. After the 5' UTR, in the eukaryotic gene you have exon. After exon 1 we have intron 1, following that we have exon 2, intron 2, and this will be going on. And finally, once all these exon introns are over, we will be having the 3' UTR. And upstream of this, we have 5' UTR. And because introns are basically, they do not code for anything. Introns, they do not code for anything. So what is going to happen? Which is shown in this diagram. Let's look at it. You can see the exon intron here. So after the transcription, we will be having exon introns, which are depicted here. Exon 1, dark green color. Intron, this is a light color. UTR, they are there in the red color. Okay, so you can see following transcription we have UTRs. Okay, we have exon, intron, everything. But what is going to happen? There is some sort of processing, I will say. So here I'm just using a general word. It is called processing. And what this processing is doing, can you compare both?
Sir, it is removing the intron part.
Yes, it is removing the intron part. And that particular processing is called splicing mechanism. Splicing. Splicing means removing of the introns so that all the exons are joined, right? And now it is called the coding sequence. So that is the biggest difference between the eukaryotic gene structure and prokaryotic gene structure. That coding region, whatever we have in the eukaryotic gene, it is not continuous. It is splitted by the exons and introns. Introns, they are not going to code for anything. And ultimately, because of splicing, the introns are removed and exons are joined. Another difference with respect to the eukaryotic gene and prokaryotic gene, you will be able to tell me in the next slide. I can zoom in here. You can compare both the systems here, prokaryote as well as eukaryote. Okay, and compare the transcription. What is happening? How transcription in the eukaryote it is different from the transcription in the prokaryote.
Sir, in eukaryote, mRNA will have cap. In prokaryote, it will not have cap.
Okay.
I'm
Yes,
asking.
yes. So there are three differences. One is capping. Here in the eukaryote, initially you are going to have a primary RNA transcript. After that, once you have the primary RNA transcript, there is a processing of this which starts. And this processing is having three parts. One is called capping of the primary RNA, which you are seeing here. And we will see what do you mean by this cap. We will see in the next slide. Next is a tail, addition of a poly A tail. Okay, second. And third one is splicing. These are the three things which I can collectively, I can call them processing of primary RNA transcript. And each step is having its importance. We know what is the importance of splicing. It is going to remove the introns. But interestingly, if you see in the prokaryote, following the transcription, you are going to get your mature mRNA. There is no primary RNA transcript which is formed here. No capping, no poly A tail in case of prokaryote. Directly you are going to have the mature mRNA. On the other hand, in the eukaryotes, there is a processing which involves the addition of a cap, addition of a poly A tail, and a splicing mechanism. These are the three things which are unique here in eukaryote. Okay. And which is depicted here. If you see this diagram, here also it is depicted that something is happening at the 5' end, some cap is there. At the 3' end, a poly A tail is there. Okay, so now let's see what is the meaning of this 5' cap and what is the importance of this poly A tail also. So what is going to happen at the cap? This is the structure of a cap here. This is the first nucleotide here, transcribed base it is written. And the base is attached to a methylated guanine with the help of triphosphate bridge. And this bridge is somewhat unique. It is 5' to 5'. Generally, we have the bonds in the structure of DNA or RNA 5' to 3'. Here, this triphosphate bridge is quite unique. It is 5' to 5', and because of this, a methylated guanine is added. It is called cap, capping of mRNA. What is the advantage here? The capped mRNA is going to increase the stability of the mRNA. The major function of this cap is it is going to stabilize the molecule as well as it is going to helpful in the initiation of translation when ribosomes are going to bind. So that is the initiation of the protein synthesis or initiation of the translation. Okay, so it is the function of the cap that it involves it provides the stability as well as it is helpful in the initiation of translation. Okay, what about poly A tail? Same functions are there. At the 3' end, it promotes the mRNA stability and helps in the translation. People have proved this thing by doing the experiment when they remove the poly A tail. Initially, people were thinking that if you see here in this slide, it is the poly A, like it is the mRNA with the poly A tail which is exported. So initial thought was maybe this poly A tail is helpful in the exporting of the mRNA into the cytoplasm. But later on, when people done the experiment, they have removed the poly A tail. Then also the mRNA was able to come out of the nucleus into the cytoplasm. So that means it is not actually important for the export process. It is important for the stability of the mRNA and helps in the translation. Any doubt here with respect to the cap and poly A tail?
No, sir.
Okay. So, like here I have hidden like possible consequences of gene mutation outside of the coding sequence. So can you tell me if there is a mutation in the promoter region, what may be the effect?
Sir, RNA will not be transcribed.
Okay, that is one. And second one is maybe RNA will be transcribed, but at a very low rate.
Low rate.
Right. What is the effect of having mutation in the 5' UTR and 3' UTR?
Sir, these are ribosome binding sites, so it will not bind with ribosome, or it will also affect the rate of translation.
Translation, right? Now, last one is the splicing recognition sequence. Okay, this point I will discuss. Okay, so you can see here, if mutation is there in the promoter region, it may increase or decrease the rate of transcription. If mutation is there in the 5' UTR or 3' UTR, it may alter the ability of the mRNA to be translated. Basically, it is going to affect the translation or mRNA stability. Last point I'm going to discuss, what do you mean by splice recognition sequence? What do you mean by this term? Basically, we have seen in the gene structure that this is the case. Let's say here I have exon 1, after that I have intron 1, after that I have exon 2, here after that I have intron 2. So what actually cellular system is going to do, it is going to remove the intron and it is going to join the exon 1 and exon 2 by splicing. And how it is going to happen? That means some sort of system is there which is going to recognize the introns. After that is, if exon 3 is also there, it will also be joined. That means some sort of system is there in this splicing which is going to recognize the intron sequence, and that's why they are getting removed. So those are called splicing recognition sequence, and especially those are the border sequences which are here, and they are conserved actually. Shown here, right? So if these recognition sequences are modified, like here, these sequences are conserved. Each intron in each gene, like human body, human cell is having 22,000 genes. Each gene is having the intron, and in those introns, each intron is going to start with GT and it is going to end with AG. So if there is a mutation which is going to change these sites, so what is going to happen? So now splicing machinery is going to recognize this intron, this entire part as a intron, because this site is mutated here. So what is going to be the consequence? Exon skipping. So entire exon will be missing. Entire exon will be missing in the. So now finally, what will be the consequence? Exon 2 will not be here. Exon 1 and 3, these are joined together. This is very dangerous mutation, because exons, they are coding part. They are going to code for the they are going to code for a protein. So this mechanism by which exons are going to be skipped during the splicing, called exon skipping mechanism. Any doubt here with respect to splicing or exon skipping?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, so finally with this slide, my part is over for your course. These were the outcomes for this course. That first one was, students will be able to predict the ratio of a specific genotype or phenotype from a cross. Some of you are really good now in this part. You can calculate this ratio. What is the genotype and phenotypic ratio in a cross? Students will be able to perform and interpret the results of a chi-square analysis. It is taught to you and you are able to do this. You can perform the chi-square analysis very well. Third one was, students will be able to decide the most likely mode of inheritance based on pedigree chart. Yes, you can do this. Last one, last outcome is that students will be familiar with the molecular basis of genetic disease and repair mechanisms. Some of the genetic disease, they are part of your assignment, which is given to you. One genetic disorder I have discussed, which is sickle cell anemia. Several times, generally, I cite the example of sickle cell anemia. We have discussed the mechanism, right? And some of the genetic disorders like CLO4, it will be taken care by Dr. Deepa, your next faculty. So tomorrow onwards, you will see a new faculty in the course. Okay, I have completed all these 3 parts from my side. I hope you have learned that and you are able to do these 3. Okay, if you have any doubt, you are most welcome to ask.
Sir, what
Yes.
is the use of intron? Basically, why it is there in the eukaryotic cell?
Okay, good question. Like introns, first of all, introns, I will tell you, let me give an introduction, that they are quite big, very big sequence. Exons are very small, they are just 50 base pair, 100 base pair, but introns, they are in kbs, maybe 10 kb, 15 kb. And in most of the cases, we don't know what is the function of intron. And amazing fact is there, according to Human Genome Project, you will be surprised to know that only 1.5% of human genome, only 1.5% of human genome actually is the coding part. That is a very surprising thing. Human genome is too big, 3.3 into 10 to the power 9 base pair. You can imagine what is the size. And only 1.5% is going to be the coding part. Remaining is part of your introns, right? So, and we do not have very clear idea what actually introns are doing. Some of the functions people have figured out, but they are actually at the that is very initial stage. Like some of the research, they have shown that these introns, basically they consist of enhancer elements. That is a very hot topic actually, enhancer element. And what the enhancer actually do, they actually enhance the expression of this gene. Okay, but how actually this enhancer is going to increase the expression of the gene, that is a mystery. And in this enhancer is also found only in some of the introns, not in every intron. So honestly, there is no answer to this question, what introns are doing. If the cellular machinery has to remove this part, so what is the function? There is no answer to this question. Only partially, for some of the introns, people have figured out some elements which can enhance the expression of that gene. They can increase the rate of transcription and further rate of transcription, yes. But that is only for only very few introns which are known to have the enhancer element. For rest of the introns, we don't know. Any other question?
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, how exon skipping is affecting the Tridotrophin person?
Can you repeat your last statement? What is you're saying?
Sir,
How
like if a person is suffering from a mutation at splice recognition sequence, then how does it will show on his trait on like his behavior?
Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
basically, what actually exons are doing? Let me explain. Let me have a screen. So let's say here, actually there should be 3 exons. Okay. So what exons are doing actually? They are the coding part. Exon means coding part. And what do you mean by coding part? That means they have codons. Codons means a set of 3 nucleotide. And what is that set is doing? Amino acid. Right? So ultimately, it is going to produce a protein. When multiple amino acids are there, you are going to have a protein. Proteins are polymers of amino acid. So let's say here 3 exons are there, and this protein is having 100 amino acids. Okay. Now, if by mutation this exon is skipping, only 2 exons are there, first one and last one. This exon is missing completely. So how many amino acids will be there in the protein now? There will be a deletion of so many amino acids. Deletion of so many amino acids will be there, because each exon is responsible for a certain number of amino acids. Now you can imagine if several amino acids are deleted in a protein, that means this protein is going to be non-functional. And if a particular protein is non-functional, definitely that function is missing in the cell and it will lead to a disease condition. Are you able to follow?
All right, sir. Got it, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
Yes.
so can you provide a link where all the videos, lecture videos will be there?
No, there is no link for that. I have not made a link. I have recorded now. Those will be there with you people. I have not kept anything. Anything else, guys?
No, sir.
Okay, so your midterm syllabus is going to be completely my part from beginning to till today. Whatever we have discussed from day 1 to till now. Like Dr. Deepa, she is going to take like tomorrow and day after tomorrow, she will be taking 2 lectures, but they will not be part of your midterm exam. Okay, so if there is no other doubt, let's end the session here. Then I can discuss with Anurup. Anurup, are you here?
Yes, I am here, sir.
Okay. Still, if you have any doubt, you can email me with respect to your midterm. If you have any doubt, you need any clarification, you can email me. Okay, so let's end the session here. Rest of the people can leave.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
So can
Yes,
I share my screen
yes,
now?
yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Sir, I think you'll have to make me an organizer.
Okay, let me see. Meeting details, meeting options. Who can present? Okay. Now you can share.
Okay, sir. Just a minute. So, is the screen visible?
Yes.
So can you please explain what went wrong in this question?
Okay, so let me open the quiz 2, then I can explain.
I have the question, sir. Here it is, sir. Question number 1.
Can you? Yes, okay. Can you zoom in here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So here the question is, if a red-eyed Drosophila female and it is heterozygous for white eyes. Okay, so now Can you go to your question?
Yes, sir.
Of your solution? Yes. So here, see the genotype of your female fly. You have written is as it is homozygous,
Okay, sir. I've written
right?
homozygous.
And
Right,
based
right.
on that, this like, and that is going to affect a lot. Ultimate,
Yes, sir.
finally, that answer is wrong. It is the problem.
So heterozygously, how was I supposed to write
Yeah,
write
you can
the?
you can write just it is you can write XW and like people you can write like white for W and R for red. XW XR.
XWXR. Okay, sir. Right,
Right.
I got it.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Answer. Just one more question. So here, sir, I know that I have done some wrong in the addition part and also in the multiplication, but sir, can you just give me some marks for the cross that I had made for the second
No,
generation
but
F2?
no. My question is based on I didn't understand the logic behind these crosses which you are making here.
Okay, so sir, in these crosses, I know this part of the question is wrong. I'm not asking marks for the ratio part. But sir, you said that it is a step-based marking system. So
Yes. Yes.
sir,
It is, yeah, yes.
this is just a cross between R small r, L small l into R small r and L small l. So this is just a simply cross between them.
No. 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 Wait. Wait. So it is a cross between the. Let me read the question.
Okay, sir.
Yes, I have opened that file.
Okay, okay.
So here it was a cross between. Okay, let me read the question completely so that I can understand. The part of the radish we eat may be oval or long, with long being the dominant characteristic. Okay. If true breeding, red long radish, they are crossed with true breeding while white oval radish. Okay. What will be the phenotype of F1? And then if we do a cross of F1, okay, if you do a cross of F1, what is going to be the phenotypic ratio in the F2 generation? Okay, so now let's go to the your answer.
Yes, sir.
So how, yes, so can you go to your 6A?
6A, right, sir.
Yes. Okay. Yes, just a minute. Can you go down? Okay. So you can see here that all of your uh, F1 plant, they are capital R, small r, capital L, small l.
Right, sir.
So now in the F2 generation, basically what you are doing the selfing of this plant. That means you are making a cross of capital R, capital L, small l,
Right,
cross
sir.
with capital R, capital L, small l.
The same thing, yes, sir.
Yeah. So basically you have to show a dihybrid cross.
Okay.
So that is my question. This is not the way how dihybrid cross is done. Dihybrid cross is done in the way which you have done in the 6A question. Like that kind of Punnett square will be there. Then 16 uh, 16 sub square will be there. And
But
then
sir,
based on that,
okay,
you will
okay, yes, sir.
calculate the phenotypic ratio.
Right, sir.
So I don't
But sir,
understand why are you repeating, why are you doing all these steps?
sir, the main reason that I did it was because of the short of time. I don't know, something just clicked me. So
No,
R
but
R.
these
So
steps
sir, what
are
it was?
no, but
I
these
did a
steps are
cross.
within, these steps are not making any sense here. These steps, like let's say, can you stop sharing? I can share,
Yes, sir. Okay.
right? So here, so how this answer actually should be, you are doing a cross